This has to be the most complicated and out there explanation as to why you should set goals. Okay, let's just dive right in. I was reading this book and this is what it says. If one meets a man who only desires, then one will find resistance against his desire behind it. Desire without forethinking gains much but keeps nothing. Therefore, his desire is the constant source of disappointment. If pleasure is united with forethinking, the serpent lies before them. To succeed in something, you first need to deal with the resistance and difficulty, otherwise joy leaves behind pain and disappointment. I had first to overcome the difficulty and resistance to gain what I desired. When desire overcomes the difficulty, it becomes seeing and follows forethinking. My desire is pure if I first overcome the difficulty and resistance. If I weigh up pleasure and forethinking, I'm like a fool, blindly following his longing. If I follow my thinking, I forsake my pleasure. The ancients said in images that the fool finds the right way. Forethinking has the first word, therefore Elijah asked me what I wanted. You should always ask yourself what you desire, since all too many do not know what they yet want. I did not know what I wanted. You should confess your longing and what you long for to yourself, thus you satisfy your pleasure and nourish your forethinking at the same time. Dense. That is some dense stuff right there, my friends. Okay, let's dive in. So, we first hear about the man who follows his desire. We first delve into that, okay? I'm sure you know the individual that follows their nose. I'm sure you've done this, okay? The person that just follows their desire, they get a lot. They gain a lot. Maybe it's a lot of money. Maybe it's a lot of materialistic. They get a lot, okay? They're always following their desire. But they always seem to be disappointed. They can't seem to find satisfaction with all their desires that they're fulfilling because it's not guided. It is sporadic. It's uncontrolled. It leads one astray. And then on the other side, we have the paralysis of forethinking, the individual who is trapped up in their dungeon, just constantly thinking, constantly brooding, and any little coin, any little thing they get a hold of, they just snatch it and want to keep it and won't never let it go. Okay, two completely opposite things. But as individuals, we either stray too far to one side or the other. I know me personally, I've experienced both. I've experienced desire leading me astray, being constantly disappointed. I've also experienced the paralysis of forethinking, just getting stuck in thought. And the third point is that the fool gets it right. The foolish one is able to grasp both of these and put them together and follow his longing and go on the right way. He gets it done. He gets the job. So what does one do about this? What do we do with this cryptic knowledge here? The point that he makes up at the end, and this is why I say this is like the most complicated explanation as to why you should set goals, is because to satisfy desire and forethinking, all you have to do is to simply ask yourself what you desire. You know, what do you desire? What are your goals? Why am I doing this? What's the point of it? And then you fuse them together, and then you get a solid reason as to why you're doing something. You know, if you're just out there chasing tail or chasing money for no reason, of course you're going to be disappointed. And at the same time with the forethinking, you know, you can just be sitting there pondering all day and thinking, and you get nothing done and you just feel like an idiot. So by asking oneself, by setting goals, by looking into the future about your desires and where it will take you and what you want to do with them, then you get a good synthesis of the two. Then you're able to guide the desire, if you will. The desire isn't guiding you, you're guiding the desire, if that makes sense. And that's why I said, once again, that has to be the most complicated explanation as to why you should set goals. I mean, I've heard setting goals is good for staying on track, it's good for your mental health, it's good for getting things done, but that explanation right there, that takes the cake. That was the most complicated explanation as to why you should set goals that I've ever heard. But there's also a third point that I want to delve into that's kind of out there, okay? But it says the fool gets it right. The ancients say the fool gets it right. And you have to wonder, what does it mean? And if you don't know what the fool is pretty much, as you can imagine, a very simple-minded individual, almost oblivious to things, but they seem to have a certain sagacity to them. They seem to be like a sage. They seem to get things. The world seems to come to them. They don't really have to do anything. They don't really have to try, but they're still foolish nonetheless. And I have a theory as to why this is so, okay? With the help of my dog, who just passed out right over there. Belly. So like I said, I have a theory as to why the fool gets it right. So like my dog is very simple. She doesn't have much desires. All she wants is attention. All she wants is food, water, and a nice cozy place to sleep. It's very simple. Anytime anybody greets my dog, she's jumping up, she's wailing, she's excited, she can't wait to meet these people. And it makes everybody so happy. They're like, oh my goodness, look at this little cute little thing. They give her all the attention. They give her treats. They give her so much love. They want to give her everything, okay? And I'm not saying the fool is an animal, but what I'm saying is the fool is very simple. They're much like a dog, very oblivious, very happy, very easygoing. And their desires aren't many. Their desires are very easily fulfilled. They don't want for much, and it's a pretty simple desire set, okay? They usually don't tend to be too ambitious. If they are, it just happens, okay? So very simple desires. And like a dog, they're always so happy. People just want to give it to them, you know? People just want to help them out. You know, look at this foolish little guy. He wants a big farm and this and that. I'll sell him some land for really cheap. People just want to help him out. So they get those things. And a really good example of that is in Don Quixote. And spoiler alert if you haven't read the book, but Don Quixote has a squire named Sancho who's a complete and utter fool. He's following this madman through the country because he promised him he'd get an island, he'd get an estate, and he'd be king. So he follows this madman, and lo and behold, eventually along the journey, he runs into these kings, and they give him an estate because he is so foolish, because he's so funny, he's so lovable. They're like, okay, we will give you a plot of land. So he thinks island, but he gets an island, but it turns out it's actually not an island. But he was too foolish to know anyway. So he becomes king for like 2 weeks, and then doesn't even want it anyway. So it's a really funny loop around thing that kind of explains how the fool gets it right. So to wrap this whole video up, to bring it all into a nice, concise and clear ending, the individual that desires is led to disappointment. The individual who simply follows their desire is led astray, disappointed. The individual who only follows their thinking becomes paralyzed, miserly, and greedy and miserable. The fool gets it right because he is simple, because he doesn't desire for much, and people want to give him what he wants because he makes them feel good. For us normal folk, for us normie, how we deal with this, okay? I know I said it before, but how we deal with this polarity, synthesize the opposites, fuse the opposites, okay, guys? How we do this is we simply ask ourselves this simple question: what do I desire and why? Brainwave moment. My consciousness has been ascended to a new level. I feel my third eye opening. I feel my chakras aligned, and I just want to stare at the sun for 10 hours a day, okay? I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. Do take care, guys, and until next time, peace.